welcome back to the late night format here on WESU Middletown 88.1 FM. I'm your special guest co-host, Dr. Love, here in the studio with the D, Slepack. Slepack? How do you say your last name?
That works.
Does it though?
I kind of gave up.
I mean, also on the show tonight we have a band whose last name is equally hard, if not harder, to pronounce, so much so that they themselves can't pronounce it.
It's our Israeli origins.
Right. So should we practice it? HAIM?
HAIM.
HAIM.
Or if we want to go like the true Jew route, we can go HAIM.
HAIM. But we're going to dirty up the microphones. Anyway, so right now we're going to chat about some movies.
Yes, indeed. As big movie fans here on the late night format, we thought we'd start an Audible movie club where we'll share and discuss the movies, and you'll hang on our every word because we're very, very interesting people.
Mm-hmm.
Since Dr. Love specializes in romance, this week our topic of discussion is romantic comedies. Dr. Love, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think actually the romantic comedy is a surprisingly hard genre to conquer because I feel like on either side of it, it's either too romantic or it's not romantic enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of my least favorite movie of all time, actually, is a romantic comedy. As I said, they can go seriously wrong. There's Something About Mary. Have you ever seen that one?
No, are you talking about I know that there's two of them, though. Are you talking about the old one?
There are
or
two.
The one, I think, the one with Sandra Bullock is based on an older movie by the same title.
No. It's the one with Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller, and I certainly hope it's not based on an older title because it's obscene.
No, so they did a new one, I think, with
Another
Sandra Bullock.
Not Miss Congeniality?
No.
Okay, well, honestly, I'm not a Sandra Bullock fan either, so I'm sure even the new one would be my least favorite movie, tied with the original one, and also that's a pretty fast turnaround for a remake from 2004.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Somewhere now. Well, anyway, there's Something About Mary, not romantic, just creepy and painful, and made me truly very upset. Do you have a favorite romantic comedy or least favorite?
In terms of least favorite, I always love, like, strutting around saying I really dislike The Notebook because...
But has anyone ever called that a comedy? Can you even
No,
make
it's
that
not.
argument?
You know what? You're right. That's not a romantic comedy at all. So I'm going to retract that statement, but also add again that I really dislike The Notebook. It's ridiculous. And then go back to talking about romantic comedies. I'm a huge fan of Judd Apatow style romantic comedies. Like there's if you count I Love You Man as a romantic comedy.
That's a bromance.
That's in the bromance department.
Certainly.
And
if it had the sexual element, then it would be full-fledged romantic comedy.
Knocked Up is a great one.
Nope.
No?
Well, actually, funny story, I wasn't allowed to see Knocked Up. When it came out, I was 14 years old, which is pretty much old enough. I was allowed to see rated R movies. I saw, similar movies. And I remember both of my parents, who aren't together, weren't living together, weren't really, not in any major animosity, but they weren't talking to each other about this. And I was at summer camp, and I got, on the same day, a nearly identical email from both of them. Like, I saw Knocked Up. It was horrible. You shouldn't see it ever. It was just really bad. And it turns out it's my life story.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a sensitive topic, and that's why I couldn't see it. But since seeing it, aside from, it really hits close to home, and it's pretty emotional for me, it's not. It's not, but I don't know how romantic it is. It's a comedy. I will give it that. But do you feel the romance between those two? I don't know if I feel it.
Yeah, it builds. That was so high pitched. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what my voice sounds like all the time. So.
But they kind of warm up towards each other, and it's that classic like animosity thing. But it's just so funny. It's one of those movies that if it's on, I will end up watching it from whatever point it's at till the end because I just can't look away.
Yeah, but they kind of warm up isn't really my idea of romance.
No, but at the end they like each other.
Oh,
they like each other a lot.
It was so barely, and and maybe it's because I know it's my life story and I know how it ends up.
I'm really tempted to ask you more about this.
Go for it. It's not a
Tell me more
topic.
about this.
Tell you more. Well, I'll just tell you. My life story is a bit classier, significantly classier. I'd like to think than Knocked Up, but it was a very casual relationship. And they saw no reason to get married, shacked up for a couple years. What they don't show in Knocked Up is the major epilogue, a year later when they've moved out, and they're nice to each other, but not into it. That's how Knocked Up really ends.
I see.
Yeah. But other romantic comedies that hit super close to home for me, wondering, what are your thoughts on Clueless?
I've seen Clueless.
Congrats! I didn't know that was something that needed to be said. I thought,
in my case, it most certainly
oh, okay.
does.
Well, I hope that everyone else out there has seen Clueless, because it's a must-see.
Yeah, it's fun. It has, like, that classic, I'm assuming it's an 80s film, vibe. And,
Is it 80s, 90s?
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
That classic vibe is all we even need to say. Just classic.
As much for the romantic part, I'm really not into the whole relationship that blossoms there.
Right. Although, okay, so here are the pros and cons of it. I think pros in terms of, what I really like about Clueless is obviously it's hilarious, but I like that they build the romance in a way that it matters. You know, I was saying how in Knocked Up there's no big revelation. In Clueless, like, doesn't a fountain burst on in the background, or there's that epic, you know, voiceover, like, I was totally butt crazy in love with Josh. Like, that's my Alicia Silverstone impression. So, you know, I thought that it was appropriately epic at the ending. However, and this is, again, where it hits close to home. It's another installment in my life story, except not, is that I happen to have a brother, maybe you'll call it, that's exactly the same relationship as Cher and Josh, the two romantic leads in Clueless are, which is to say
so
that our
painful.
parents were together and then broke up, we're not related, and they are broken up. No way. No.
It's really messed up. Like,
No.
there's something about it that, like,
It's terrifying.
I get that there's no blood
Think about.
connection, but, like, just no. I don't have any
But
more explanation for
Right.
it rather than the visceral no.
And also, I just think that when you're raised, or if not even raised, just like introduced to each other in that way, it's not a leap you're going to make.
I agree.
hope.
Yes, indeed. But Paul Rudd, though.
Paul Rudd, though, is the reason why I find the romance to be so convincing, in part, other than the epic voiceover in the fountain. Paul Rudd, I believe it. Yeah. He could make you turn incestuous.
While I agree with that, I feel like he seems significantly older than her, and maybe that's just because I'm familiar with Paul. He is, right?
No, in the it's because you're familiar, but also in the movie as well, he's significantly older than her.
And how old is she supposed to be?
She's supposed to be, I want to say, 16. She's 16 or 17. She's in high school.
That's wait a second, legally.
Yes, correct.
Uh-oh.
Correct. It's wrong on a number of levels. So she's 16 or 17. He's in college and seems old even for a college student. So it's really very questionable for a number of reasons. But it's Paul Rudd, and so we don't question it.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But end note, romantic comedies make no sense.
Yes.
But they hit our
Heartstrings.
hearts. Yeah, they play them.
Our funny bones.
Both.
Our heartstrings
Romantic
and our funny bones.
Comedy. Oh my god.
Okay,
Amazing.
yikes.
We went a little too far.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna wrap this segment quickly before it escaped this box that we're putting it in.
It's gotten to be too much.
But I suggest you stay tuned for some musings on love and relationships from our resident expert, just in time for Valentine's Day, and also some ridiculous dating-themed quizzes, which are ridiculous. So you're not going to want to miss that. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.